I I said to Alfie, Elliot's coming on our first podcast, and he said, "All right, great." And he goes, "Well, if it goes wrong, I can just AI both of you, and it can be an AI version of the conversation." And I thought that's where
Younger,
we're going.
younger and better looking.
Yeah, that's where it's going to. But I did think what was interesting is like lots of there seems to be lots more podcasts around, and I love listening to them, and um and I thought it's interesting the rise of AI in the last couple of years, and yet podcasts and people wanting to listen to people and talk talk to other people has has become big at the same time that AI's come big. It's like a weird kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's lots of and the tools are better, aren't they? So it's easier.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So you've come on to the first one. So I hope this is okay. I mean, um, I haven't done it before, but I was interested in doing it. Like I think like from our side, we wanted to talk. Like we deal with companies where there's a complex kind of journey involved, like a long process where there's high stakes involved with the decision that people make. And obviously, we've worked together for quite a long time. And I kind of thought there's no company that I've seen where the growth's been so amazing. You've handled it really well, how you've gone from stage to stage and stepped up. And in that buy in journey, if you like, I couldn't think of a better company to talk to than your company, you
Yeah,
as the founder, because I thought, lots of businesses that we deal with, most of the businesses we deal with, have complexity to their journey. So it's not like they hit the website first time and then that's it, they're sold on it. And then, like it would be with an online purchase. And so I thought, like, what we could do to start with is sort of talk about because you moved from a law firm into this role, but you must have had like a good vision back in the day there. What was it, 2017, 2018, or something like that? You must have had a really good vision of like what things could become because at the time it was a massive disruptor, but also a suppressed disruptor, wasn't it? Because like it was really hard to nurture people in. I mean, there was three of you, but they weren't all lawyers, right? At the begin, at the foundation, you had to convince those first ones. We went through a stage of, or we have gone through a stage of completely redesigning all the time the Teams page to fulfill the amount of people that are there now. So I just thought we could start with that, your story, getting into it, really.
yeah. So I suppose if you think of the vision, it sort of goes back quite a long way before you actually physically open the doors, doesn't it? So it was probably sort of early part of 2016 that I started thinking about it, and that was with John Roberts, our sort of co-founder, former chair,
Yeah.
and assessing different options at the time, as in, do you want to set up a traditional firm? Do you want to set up a boutique firm? And then after talking it through and crunching the numbers, deciding actually, this is the best model to go for. And you're right, at the time there was only a few people doing it, and very few people, if any, had actually done it from scratch. They've had a traditional firm that merged into a new model law firm. So that was good for us that we could actually start it from day one, build it out, to make sure that it was for consultant lawyers, not a law firm that had decided actually we quite like that model. We're going to become a new model law firm. So I had the time, due to having investors to sort of sit back and prepare it properly. So say the vision was, say it was probably early part of 2016. Doors opened, I think March 2017, with the
Okay.
first lawyer coming in maybe August 2017. So there was a long lead up. So the key takeaway from there is to not sort of act in haste, isn't it? But actually sit down, plot it, as you probably did yourself when you set up your business. Instead of just opening up one day, you thought about it for a while and looked at the pros and cons and then went ahead with it.
Yeah, that's right. And you're right with the investors on board. That was a great thing for you, but that's still, you've still got to convince people in, haven't you? At that early stage. In fact, I would argue that it's easier now for you to build that in because you're at a point whereby, you've got a reputation within the market, a good reputation in the market, and you've got other lawyers that people can look at. But when you started that up and you thought and you planned it, yes, you've got the investors in at the beginning, but it's still quite a big leap. So I think just talk about the model, because why the leap is so different to the kind of traditional law firm.
Yeah, well, traditional law firm, people are either an employee or equity partner, owner of the business in the main. So they're getting a salary, or they got the security of the firm around them. So the equity partners, if one department is failing, the other one might prop it up, and they still get paid. So they got that safety blanket. Whereas our model, you're self-employed, so you've basically got your own business within Nexa. So we've got 190 lawyers effectively all operating their own law firm under our umbrella. So that's a big leap of faith for people to come out of the safety of employment into a self-employed environment, where obviously the opportunities are much greater, but the risks and the lead in and the ramp up time of actually getting back to the position they're in when they come out of private practice can be very quick, but it can be very slow. So it depends on the individual, the business plan, what support we can give them. But yeah, they're in the same position you and I are in. They're effectively starting their own business up rather than having the comfort of being employed and having a paycheck every month. They're going it alone, really. And I suppose the challenge we had at the beginning was, who wants to be the first person at a new model law firm? No one else is on there. There's no sense check of being able to chat to 10 other people within the firm. No. Referrals, who are they going to refer their work to, because there's no other lawyers within the firm. So obviously I think it is considerably easier now that we're in the the lawyer top 200. We've got 190 lawyers. We cover almost every discipline you can think of, and we've evolved our systems and our support over time to make it a safe home for people to come and join. So yeah, definitely easier now than it was in March 2017 when you've got 0 lawyers and trying to entice people in. I mean, do you remember when we built the first website? It was split, wasn't it, in two?
It was
like client, lawyer.
Yeah.
And we sort of decided, didn't we, once we had a little bit of scale, we'd be comfortable in separating them out into separate websites, one for clients, one for lawyers. But the very early stages, it was just one website, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was bootstrap. It was trying to work out, because there wasn't that many other businesses. You couldn't copy their model.
Yeah.
And also because you hadn't sort of done it before either, we were trying to feel our way through it. And I think that's what I've been most impressed with over the years, is that you seem to have gone from like you get to levels where you almost like climbing this huge mountain, but actually not looking at the top of the mountain, which you did have in your mind, but actually going, we just need to get 3 lawyers in to start with, and then we'll build up some confidence. And it was the same with the website in terms of how we structured it and how it's continually evolved. And different people have come in at different stages, and every time I sort of look at the business, you get to a point. I mean, it's very challenging to build it to 190, because it's not just 190. It's 190 lawyers, right? But there's different staff that support that as well. It's a big organization now, but at those stages, there's always going to be the kind of the lawyers are up for it. The ones that are kind of they want to leap in. And I suppose those were the ones that, right at the beginning, those were the ones that sort of, well, I'll kind of hack it along with you guys in a way. And then there's the ones that'll never do it. They like the environment they're in. They like the comfort, the paycheck. That's the way they are. But then there's those middle ground where people ponder this for a long time. I mean, if you remember in the early days, one of the most hit areas of the website was what is a consultant lawyer? And less so now that's the case because people have started to understand it. But I think that thing of like people not really understanding what it is and how they could do it. And I'm sort of interested in how, so the website only plays a part in that, right? And we evolve as you evolve, and we help you evolve along the way and come up with ideas of what's working and what's not. But nevertheless, you've still got to nurture those people when they make that inquiry through. And I think you've always done a really good job of when people have made an inquiry through, which has been a light touch point potentially at some point in time, that you've managed to kind of nurture them through. I mean, you've had people, right, who've come back to you 12 months after making an initial inquiry with you. And also you're really good at kind of creating a culture whereby you don't take everybody on. You're gonna see whether they're the right fit for your organization and things like that. And so I'm really interested in how you work that bit through at each level, you know?
Yeah, so it's definitely not for everybody. So you can normally suss that out quite early on. It is hard, you know. The ones that make the best success of it in the main will be people that have got a client following.
Yeah.
So people that have almost been running their own business within a traditional law firm and not really been noticing that they've been doing that. So what I often say to people when they have their first touch point with me, if they're unsure, is I just say, well, you know, just for a year, write down every invoice that's your client and every referral you made that's your client. And then then after 12 months, you can get a really clear idea of what your actual following is, as in, don't count the jobs that have come to you from another partner or have come, you know, direct to the firm. Like, who's your clients? As in, if you move out the firm, who's going to come with you? Who's going to follow you and support you? You know, talk to the clients, explain what you're going to do, see if they're willing to do it. And you know, to be cutthroat about it, there's no value in us taking people that haven't got the get up and go or got the ability to find their own clients or have their own clients. No. Because it's a mutual relationship where, you know, there's a fee split, and you know, we do need to generate income to run a business. So you can be quite sort of brutal about it. And yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, sometimes people have subconsciously made the decision to join us and not told us, and then they suddenly turn up and make contact.
Ready to go.
Sometimes 3 years down the line. I might have spoken to somebody in 2022 or something, and thought, oh, that was a good conversation. But then actually they've gone off, obviously thought deeply about it, and then made the decision in their own time. So you never quite know who's coming through. All you can look at is historics and go, actually, you know, we have taken people on and we continue to take people on, and take some comfort in the fact that, you know, we seem to do a decent job and, you know, retain the lawyers that we want to.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. And do you think over time that those people who would say they would never do this have maybe shifted a bit more into going, well, actually, it's a bit like Uber or something like that, where originally it's a disruptor, but actually it starts to become a bit more of the norm because there's a lot more companies doing it now. There's a lot more organizations set up and stuff.
100%. I mean, I would say if we put 100 lawyers in a room in 2017 and asked them about new model law and asked them about the concepts and asked them their depth of knowledge and how they understand it, you're probably looking at 10 to 20% of them would have had a good working knowledge. Whereas I reckon that would be about 90% now.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the lawyers are aware of it. So you can go into any law firm in the country, small, medium, large, Magic Circle, wherever, and they'll all have a good concept of what it is. and how it works, where that wasn't the case when we set up. And there's been reports that, I think a lot of them are way over the top, but there's reports that say at some point in the next 10 years, something like 30% of lawyers will be operating like this.
Really?
I don't think it will be that amount personally. I think, when you look at all the prerequisites, as in, you're normally maybe 8 to 10 years PQE, so that takes a massive amount of the market out.
Yeah.
You've got to be capable of getting your own clients or have clients, which takes another batch of the market out. That I think that number's unrealistic, but I think it is viable, especially as generations shift. So I've noticed over the years that people are sort of probably a generation below us seem to have a lot more idea of what work-life balance is, and a lot of people will now in full paid employment will actually say, I'm only going to work 4 days a week, or I'm going to work these hours and I'm going to work from here. That they're taking control of their careers a lot more. When I qualified, it was like you had one option: you tried to become an equity partner and part owner of the firm. That was it. If you went in house, that was like a death knell. Like, you're never going to get any clients, so you're never going to be able to build your own practice or be a consultant. But now there's so many more options that they're getting they're sitting down thinking, what do I want out of my career? Well, I don't think I thought like that at the time. I don't think there was that many options around.
No, and I wonder, I mean, I'll be careful how I say this, but I wonder if COVID sort of came at the right time for your business, because that flexibility around how you work kind of stemmed from that. If you remember at the time, and people sort of, I think people have forgotten this, but like there was an explosion of people using Zoom and stuff. Like people hadn't used it before. You were almost training people how to use Zoom, and to a certain age group, that'll just be laughable. Like you're kidding me. Like, but like when you started up 2016, 2017, if you said to someone, we'll have a meeting online, or we'll do an interview online or something like that, people would be like shocked. They'd be like, no, I can't do that. I need to do it physically. And that kind of like happened 3 years after you starting, or around about then. I think probably played into people feeling in that way of being able to work as they want to work.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think, and people had a lot of time to reassess their lives and how they wanted to work, and having the opportunity to work from home, which, to be fair to traditional law firms, they adapted really quickly to it. So it didn't help us on a recruitment level. It wasn't like suddenly everyone wanted to come and join a new model law firm. The traditional law firms adapted really well, really quickly. So we didn't sort of get much in the way of, we didn't hit a different sort of curve than we were on in recruitment. But I think everyone thought, I can actually do this. Where before people couldn't get their head around it. They thought that doesn't make any sense. I need to be in the office, or I need access to X, Y, and Z. Whereas I think it made people more comfortable. And then what happened is the traditional law firms eventually were like, hang on, we want the bums on seats again. The hybrid working suddenly gone back to full-time working. The flexibility is disappearing. And a lot of lawyers are like, that doesn't suit me anymore. I could do it during COVID. I could do it doing 2 days in the office post-COVID. Why am I now back in the office full-time? So we've had a lot of sort of mildly discontented lawyers that have decided, actually, no, I can do this for a living, because I knew it. I knew it worked. I've got evidence that it worked.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, that's right, absolutely right. So it makes that shift a bit easier, doesn't it? It makes it.
Yeah.
But I guess one of the big shifts for someone is that whole thing of like they've got the option to go into an office space. I think right at the beginning you didn't have the sort of ability, or the fact you didn't have enough people. But now you've broken out into that, where there are much more community things that you're running, events where people can it's evolved over time in terms of the way that they can work, right? Isn't it? And I think actually there's been a massive rise again in shared spaces and stuff like that where people can go in and have those meetings. And I think that's become, to a younger generation, that's become something that's again more obvious. Of course, I can do that. Whereas me and you might have thought, well, we've had to learn all this as we've gone
Yeah.
along, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and they're brilliant, aren't they? I mean, we use we were in WeWork. We've used we got Landmark and Runway East, and the way they operate is fantastic. For younger
Yeah.
people or for anyone really. You've got breakout spaces, you've got meeting rooms, you've got physical offices, and it's just a much better place to go to work
Yeah.
than a lot of people will be used to.
Mm.
And you can come and go when you want. Really easy to flexibly book meeting rooms. They make it, they know how and what works, and yeah, they're really good environments to work in.
Yeah, and I would say maybe when you set up, that wasn't such a thing in your mind that as much, was it? Like how they could do that. And I guess
Mm.
there's people within the organization now who love that, love getting into those spaces and love working. And then there's some that aren't. They're quite happy just working away. They're at home. They get stuck into their job, and that's it. I think very early on in the early days when we started working on it, we sort of envisioned people meeting in coffee shops and kind of that sort of thing rather than going into the office environment. Um, but that's sort of evolved as it's gone on, and everything seems to work now in terms of allowing people to be flexible, so they can go in 2 days a week and then they can work from home for the rest of the
I
time.
mean, everyone's so different. Like some people will work entirely from home. Some people will mix it up. Some people will go to client offices. Some people will go to coffee shops. Some people will take their own offices on. Some people will take advantage of some of our shared spaces. So everyone's different, and it's just making sure that you're flexible enough to fit in with people's expectations, which is what we try to do. We don't make lawyers, we don't tie them up in knots and make them exclusive to Nexa and say you can't actually run a separate business on the side, or you can't. If your old firm wants to give you some work, you're not allowed to do that. We just try and be as flexible as possible to make it work for them,
Yeah.
to make them be able to operate a business and make a living. Yeah, so it's just it is a complete. There's probably 50 different ways of doing it, but all our
Yeah.
lawyers are doing it slightly differently. There's no hard and fast rules.
And so, and does that make it easier for you? So like what I'm wondering is, if you right at the beginning and you've got 5 lawyers, they've got a bigger voice together because there's no differentiator. Well, there's less people, so they can say, "Oh, Elliot, we would like this." When it's huge, you're going to have that varying sort of different types of people. Some are going to be more outspoken. Some are going to want social situations. Some aren't going to want social situations. Does how you sort of nurture them along their journey, for whether they come on board with you or not come on board with you, because I see that nurturing process as being a kind of like, it's got to work for both of you in a way. But has it changed from when you had 5 lawyers to you've got 190 lawyers? Has it changed in terms of, have you, because obviously your processes have evolved and your the tools that you give to people have evolved, but has the way that you talk to people changed as well, where you thought, actually, I've got a much better understanding as if this is going to work for you or not over the years, and you constantly get better at that? Or are you giving people the same advice you did when you first started up?
Yeah, it's pretty similar, but obviously some lawyers have completely different requirements to others. So, tech's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people have different tech requirements, and it's very hard to find tech solutions that will fit the purpose for everyone.
Yeah.
So, if you look at a traditional law firm, say for example, they only do one work type and they're specialists in that. They can have a case management system, can't they, with a workflow that will take them through that journey of that
Yeah.
transaction in a repeatable way. Whereas when you've got 190 lawyers doing, 30, 40 different sectors, things like that are really hard. So
Yeah.
things have to be relatively generic to work properly. So our case management system will be slightly different to a traditional law firm. It'll be more actually, I can keep the documents secure here. I can have access to what's on the client account, office account. I can create documents, invoices, save emails to it. Quite a broad solution compared to traditional law firms, but some people do want specific tech, so you can't sort of roll everything out for everybody all of the time. So what we try and do is we always describe ourselves as tech enabled, not tech developers.
Yeah.
And we try and facilitate tech for people. So sometimes they'll pay for that tech, but we'll try and facilitate a deal with the tech provider to make it suitable for them.
Okay.
So you have lots of different conversations and different areas as well. So different areas have different impacts on our business. So, a corporate lawyer will hit our systems a lot less than a property lawyer will.
Okay, yeah.
So you evolve the business around that, and the deal may change in the consultancy agreement. So you're constantly evolving as you go. Like I think we always said, haven't we, with the website, it's evolution, not revolution, isn't it? And it's a bit like that with the systems. So the fundamentals are the same, but you're gently evolving it to make it fit your lawyers over time.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. And I mean, I suppose we talked about it before about AI. I guess the more that the systems improve and things get better, actually, you can make them more bespoke for individual people, exactly what they need, and give that to them. And I mean, do you find that it's one of the things that people get nervous about, that they've had an IT manager before, they've had someone to take care of stuff when they come on board with you, when they've worked with their other law firm, and when they come on board with you, they're sort of thinking, I don't know this side of things, and I'm also wondering, do they kind of go, actually, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be? This is kind of like I could.
You do, because you get. We've had lawyers come from magic circle firms that they only touch a file at a certain point of the transaction. So AML and ID verification and know your client and risk assessment forms, and doing some of the dirty work they've never done before, in opening a file. So it's completely new to some people.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that happened. So they're starting from scratch. Whereas, a lot of lawyers now, it's quite natural to them. I mean, when I finished before I set Nexa, I was pretty much doing everything myself. I was doing general commercial corporate work, and I'd do all my own typing. I'd amend my own documents, and people work a lot more like that now. So it's not such a stretch for them when they're used to doing that. So you do get, but what we find is that people sort of build their own businesses out, and they'll find ways to make it suit. So, they'll take on assistants, they'll take on paralegals, they'll take on secretaries, they'll take on junior lawyers. We've got paralegals at HQ, so they can do some of the admin or some of the research. So again, we slightly evolved the business to make it fit people that perhaps aren't comfortable with the early stages of a transaction and what the requirements are, to support them with that.
Yeah. And I think what Nexa seems to be really good at, from what I've seen, is that diversity, it's like an elastic band. So you're there, you can pull very hard when you need to, and you can support someone and go all in and help them out when they need to be helped out. But some people are very good at it and they're quite switched on to it. And actually, so the community might help each other, but also Nexa are really good at kind of supporting no matter what stage you're at. It seems to me that you don't allow that to be something that stops people.
Some people want a lot of, more hand holding than others. Whereas some are really self-sufficient and they know what they need to do. They know they're an SRA regulated lawyer. They know they've got to get ID, source of funds. They've got to save the documents. They know the basics and they just get on with it. That that they want to be left alone. They don't really want much in the way of communication. They're just running their business, whereas others are, a lot more engaged on a cultural
Yeah.
level. Engagement, they'll come to events, they'll engage on webinars we put on, they'll come to all the parties, they'll come to the get-togethers. So we have extremes, we have complete, opposites, and we have a lot that fall in between. And you're trying to basically make sure that you can adapt to each individual, because that's what we focus on at Nexa, is the individual. So a lot of law firms will focus very much on the work type. So they will be like, we'll only take lawyers on if they do these 3 disciplines. Whereas what we do is we're trying to focus on the individuals who've got the right behaviours and the right backgrounds and the right skills that fit in with Nexa.
Yeah.
And, that can flourish through us. They tend to be entrepreneurial types in the main.
Yeah.
And just making sure that you can adapt to everybody. It's hard because no 2 people are the same, are they? But you just got to try and do all you can to support people that want the engagement and adopt a more hands-off approach for the ones that just want to get on with it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I think Nexa's really good at that, kind of that way that they go in and help where they can, but there's going to be lots of people who just want to crack on, and they don't need that support. I mean, do you think there's any? What do you think? So when people make the shift, I think we've talked quite a lot about the way you nurture them through and the reluctance of it and everything like that. What do you think would be something which you would say, actually, the right people who we get on board and the people that we're taking on, what they didn't realize was this is a really underrated. So obviously we've talked about like the fact that your work can be flexible and things like that. But do you think that there's anything that you kind of go, actually, this is probably one of the most underrated parts of being independent?
I think a big one is picking your own clients. So if you're in a traditional law firm, unless you're the ultimate decision maker, someone knocks on the door and you generally have to act for them.
I thought you were going to swear. I thought you were going to say, tell them where to go. But yeah, you can't you?
Well, if you're an independent, consultant and you don't want to act for somebody, you don't take them on, do you? So
No.
having that control over your client base is really refreshing for people.
Yeah.
Because there'll be a lot of lawyers out there acting for clients that they really rather wouldn't be acting for.
I'm sure, yeah.
And so that's a biggie. And I think it's a big one I always think about and gets talked about a lot is holidays, and people worry about, I'm not going to be able to switch off completely for my annual 2-week holiday, which, potentially might be correct, but a lot of people team up with someone and they go, whilst you're away, can you look after mine, and I'll sort yours out when you're away. But what tends to happen in the main, and which I think is the best way of doing it, is a lot of people will just do a couple of hours whilst they're on holiday.
Yeah.
But they'll have numerous holidays instead of one holiday. So,
yeah.
We've had lawyers having up to 10 holidays a year, still having a really flourishing client base and good revenue, fantastic client feedback, but they're making it work for them. So every time the kids are on a half term, right, we're away that week, they might be working after breakfast up until midday or something, but they've got much more ability to have several different holidays rather than being limited by whatever it is, 20-25 days annual leave. And to be honest, a lot of those lawyers, they don't get to switch off when they go away anyway. I never did.
Of course they don't. No.
I mean, you get a lot of people saying, I can switch off entirely and everything gets sorted. That'll be a slim majority, a minority of firms where that happens. I mean, I've worked at 4 or 5 different firms, and I never once had a completely broken break. So
no, of course not. And No, and I think you're right. And I think the important thing is actually, and this is part of like running your own thing. I remember when I first started. I remember one of my clients, Roland Pickstock, actually saying to me that that he always does an hour in the morning, and while sort of everybody's getting ready or they're doing stuff, he does an hour, and then that's it, switches off. He knows he's going to go back and check it tomorrow. But I took that forward. I mean, less now that I've got support and people around in the company. But when we were much smaller, that's what I'd do. I'd do an hour,
Yeah.
and then I'd feel all right about it. And when the kids were very little, and I would take them to the beach or something like that. I'd do 1 hour, get it all done. But you're right. I've tried all sorts. I've tried. I think I told you I took a phone with me once, and I said only contact me on this phone if you need me. And one day I'd got like 15 missed calls, and I had a major panic. and and so you kind of think like
Yeah.
finding that balance. And I think you're right. Like depending on your position in any organization, you're always going to get asked the question when you're away. But if you get the
Oh,
ability to be able to go skiing and all the rest
yeah.
of it,
I mean, that's why I tend to do even now is like, you go and have breakfast, I play tennis with Austin, and then I'll go, whilst everything's getting set up outside or whilst we're preparing to go somewhere, I'll just go and sit at reception, maybe do an hour and a half, and then get back to it. I mean, it doesn't
and
bother
then
me
you
in the
feel better.
slightest, to be honest.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's not derogating from my holiday at all, really. And
No,
I'd rather go on more holidays doing that than just have 1 2 week shut off. So I mean that's a big advantage, and I think just the amount that the lawyers can earn. I mean, we've had examples of lawyers who have been salaried partners, so on the cusp of becoming equity partners, maybe it not quite happening for them, or having a carrot dangle that keeps getting shifted, and they've come to us and they've actually realised they were in control of a lot of those relationships. And I've seen a few examples of lawyers quadrupling what they
wow.
were earning,
That's
which is
that's
that's a big lifestyle shift for a lot of
that
people.
is, yeah. Because
Um,
actually, it gives you that, like you say, it gives you that freedom where you go, well, actually, I'm going because I'm earning so much more than I was before. Like you say, you can go on a holiday, extra
yeah,
holiday, you can do whatever because you're earning the extra money. So
yeah,
it's a real draw underneath, isn't it?
and it's when you work, isn't it? So um, you know, if it's a Sunday and it's thrashing down with rain and you can't think of anything much better to do,
Yeah,
some people will sit down, they might do their billing, or they might do a bit of research to get a head start on the week. And they might, the weather cheers up on the Monday, they might go off and do something else. They're in control, aren't they? It's
they
hard. It's hard
are.
to do that within a traditional framework. I mean,
It
some firms
is.
might do it, but I don't think many have really got control over that.
Well, and from personal experience, I know that I don't know how much it's appreciated when someone in a traditional law firm works in that way, will do the extra hours because there's
Mm,
it's easier for them to get it done over the weekend because they're not going to get any calls or anything like that. Um, and does the traditional law firm really appreciate the fact that they've put in that work? Whereas if it's your work and you're generating your own money from doing that work, then you're right. You're
yeah,
going to go, well, look, I've got nothing much on this afternoon and I could do with doing this stuff. You've got the
yeah,
flexibility to do that.
yeah. I mean, I
Uh,
think that's a really good bonus. It's just that's a really positive thing to happen as well, isn't it? Actually go. I've had a quiet couple of hours, but actually I've done 2 hours of really deep thinking work, fully chargeable, and I've got a head start on the week. That'll
yeah,
put me in a pretty decent mindset for the upcoming week.
yeah.
Um,
And there's also like less politics.
Yeah,
You
less water cooler moments, as I often refer to. Yeah, there's less meetings that perhaps you feel you might not need,
yeah,
because the meetings moving forward, as a consultant, will be on your own terms.
yeah,
So, um, you know, I've sat in a lot of meetings in the past when I was a solicitor, doing fee earning, and just sit around and think, well, why am I here?
yeah. I know,
And
yeah,
and you will have a lot of time. you know, training others, people coming and asking questions that, you know, that will, you know, not having that frees up a lot of time. Commuting is another one. I mean, I used to end up commuting probably average of 10 hours a week, most of the jobs I was in.
It's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, which you can do a lot in 10 hours.
Well, it's another day, right? It's another day's work, right? And if you can actually be billing for that time, then it's, you know, it's
finding new clients, or, you know, improving your own skills to become a better lawyer in different areas. It just gives you loads of options, and, you know, you can be at home, you know, with the kids, or doing something that you want to do, rather than being stuck in a car 10 hours a week
in the traffic. That's right.
Yeah.
So if there were, so we get, you know, a lot of traffic to the website, you get a lot of inquiries. When thinking like people who are in that middle bracket where they're still considering whether it's for them, what sort of advice would you give them about like what they should read up on and what they should be looking at, and what, you know, what is there any resources that you'd recommend that they look into?
Yeah, I mean, explore the market is the key one. Just there's so many different people doing what we do. We're all fundamentally doing the same thing in a slightly different way. So just get to know the market and which one fits you the most. So I had a look recently. I think there might be something like 30 different options now for lawyers. I mean, there's not many that have got, you know, considerable scale. There's a lot that have got maybe 10, 20, 30 lawyers, but work out what you want. You know, where will your clients feel most comfortable? You know, the people that are on the websites, do you feel an affiliation towards them? You know, are they people that you used to working with or had on the other side on previous transactions? What support do they offer? You know, what's their fee split? What's the referral fee split? Is there any top up? You know, if they go over certain figures, what's the support? What case management system are you comfortable using? So there's so many questions, but it's just really important for them to look at all the different websites, request the brochures, speak to people. You know, you can learn a lot from the initial touch points, speaking to you know, whoever reaches out to you from that firm. You know, is that done in a professional way? Is that going to be
100%.
indicative of the relationship you're going to have with them moving forward? So
100%. It's that first touch point, isn't it? That first, first touch point is like, you know, maybe something that they've seen or heard about, but yeah, that first conversation is really important to them to just understand it, isn't it? And
we're fully aware we won't appeal to every lawyer.
No.
You know, if you're a lawyer that wants to become a consultant but purely wants to do work provided by others, there are better options. There'll be different fee splits, but there's the ability to do that. So there are various different solutions that, you know, at the end of the day, you're setting up your own business. So you've got to do the research and you've got to plan. You've got to have a really good business plan that you try to stick to. You won't end up hitting. It's unlikely you're always going to hit your perfect target straight away, but have something structured that you can work to and reference, and, you know, get it checked by others, and speak to people within the other firm. So if you have an initial chat with a firm, take a look at the website and say, actually, can I have a word with these two people?
I think
because
they're
always going to be willing to help, you know, because, you know, they've been in the same boat, haven't they? So people are generally quite good at having a quick chat and giving some backgrounds. So
I think that's really good advice. I think that is really good
reference points.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good advice. And as far as Nexa goes, what's on the agenda next? Christmas parties, short term.
We've got 3 Christmas parties coming up. We've got one in London, Manchester, and one at HQ. I think we've got 74 coming to London at the Ivy, so that's going to be a big event.
John will be going to all of them, won't he? John will be there.
John will be there. We'll, yeah, the HQ one's normally quite a heavy one in Oswald Street. So that's a mix of lawyers and employees. So that's always good fun. People getting to meet people that you're communicating with all the time. But actually don't see them in the flesh. So that would be good. Generally, just more of the same. Just constantly looking to evolve and improve our offering. Keep the quality up and keep improving the quality and the nucleus of our lawyers to become as strong as it can be. So nothing hugely different on the horizon.
Just keep moving it forward.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I've enjoyed sort of being part of the process. I've been really, really grateful to be part of the process, and I think it is I think from a business side alone, it's an amazing evolution of where you've got to. I was talking to John about it the other day, saying how this organization, it's not easy to grow by any, lots of companies, if you look at it from a business point of view, lots of companies hit certain levels, 20 people, 30 people, get stuck at different points. And Nexa has always managed to get to that next level and keep evolving. And I think you saying like, we just keep moving and things like that. But actually, it's always a challenge, isn't it, to keep going in that way? And so you've done an amazing job on it, really. So it'll be great to see it still continue into the future.
Yeah, it's been good to have you with us. I mean, it's probably longer than 8 years, isn't it? Probably chatting at school gates about it and me not knowing what you did.
Now the kids are nearly driving and
I know, it's scary, isn't it? All off to uni soon, and so time moves on, but we'll keep on keeping on.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because it doesn't feel like that, does it?
No,
it doesn't feel like that much time shifted. Like when you think, I think about you and Victoria and John coming into my offices with a little corner sofa. And and then thinking where it is now, actually it only seems like a few months ago, or it doesn't seem that long ago since that happened.
No, it's scary, isn't it? But it's a lot of work. I think it's just trying to make the right decisions and sensible decisions along the way. I'm not really one to take massive risks unless it's necessary. I think if you just do the right thing and demonstrate the right behaviours and try and treat people the same, treat people with respect, then you should do okay.
It's calculated, isn't it? I think it's calculated risk. You are taking a risk inevitably, but if you're calculated about it and like you say, you're respectful and you kind of there are moments where you find things challenging, but you keep moving in the right direction. And actually, I think it's a good point, which is that often if something bad happens, you see it as like, well, what can we learn from that? What can we understand from that to move forward? And I think that's what's happened with Nexa over the years, where things have kind of taken a different turn and we thought, well, actually, we need to move to this position now and things like that. That's where we've enjoyed working with it, because it never stands still. Yeah. I think lots of people in your industry are the same, actually, where they do move forward. That's what's been exciting about it. So long let it go, exist and thrive. Thank you, mate. Thank you very much for that. Have you got a busy day planned now?
Well, just a bit tired from yesterday. Had the darts in Wolverhampton with the supplier. That was good fun. So take it easy, and weekends to look forward to.
It's going to be a wet one, I think, but you'll have to come to the office and give the guys. We'll have a Nexa versus User Boost challenge at the darts in the office.
Yeah, that'd be good. Let's get your table tennis in there.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to do that. Right, great to catch up, mate.
Cheers, Abe. Catch you later.
All right. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
See
Bye.
ya.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.